Good morning. Welcome to the Creative Arts Immersion. I'm co-facilitating this session with Sharon Knatzer. This is going to be a fun, exciting experience this morning. ALA's commitment to creative arts for veterans and service members is well known, made most visible by our role in the Veterans Creative Arts Festival, both at the national and at the local level. ALA is increasing its focus on veterans' creative activities this year, and our session this morning is going to hear and experience the importance of in rehabilitation. I'm pleased now to introduce Marete Webster of Americans for the Arts co-chairs, along with Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, the National Initiative for Arts and Health in the Military. I'm now pleased to present Marete Webster.
Thank you so much, Mary. I can't begin to tell you how pleased and privileged I am to be with you all today, and how delighted we are when we were invited to come here to talk to you about an effort that is relatively new and has just started over the past couple of years. So I very much appreciate spending part of the morning with you. The National Initiative for Arts and Health in the Military started as a really volunteer collaborative effort several years ago, and the purpose is to advance the arts and health, healing, and healthcare for military service members, staff, veterans, their families, and caregivers. Our goals are fairly basic. We want to advance the policy, practice, and quality of the arts as tools for health. We also would like to raise the visibility of the importance of the arts and understanding for all participants in the military and veteran populations. And finally, the issue of access, making the tools for health available to all active duty military veterans, staff, and family members and caregivers. Now, when we were first talking about this, we were really several years ago, our small group of national arts organizations, health organizations, people who were providing services in healthcare, were really looking at the environment and the challenges that we all were facing. Unlike any other time in the United States, more than 2 million U.S. service members deployed, historically unprecedented deployments, multiple deployments, extended, shorter times between homes, over 48,000 wounded and returning, and most returning with really sometimes quite severe physical and emotional and psychological traumas. Veterans reporting difficulty to returning to civilian life, and manifesting in things like a significant homeless population, unemployment being a problem, and then finally, really understanding the significant impacts all of these conditions had on family members. And I know that none of these statistics are surprising to any of you. You all are living them and have been really addressing these problems. But for those of us in the arts, we were really trying to come to grips with understanding this environment and figuring out, is there a solution? And what we were hearing from our partners in the military and veterans community, that the conditions are such that these challenges required more than medical treatment to resolve. And so we started thinking, well, what could the arts bring as a possible solution to these challenges? And those of us who have been working in the arts and know people who are creative arts therapists or artists who work at bedsides or in the community, that for individuals, there is a small but growing body of evidence that is showing the benefits of the arts to alleviating symptoms of stress, of traumatic brain injury, of depression. But importantly, this also extends to families, to children of parents who are deployed or who return with some of these traumas, dealing with some of the stresses that families undergo on a regular basis. And finally, the healthcare environment. What we're seeing is, and this is encouraging, that there already are in military treatment facilities and veterans facilities a growing body of professionals and artists who are there and ready and willing and eager to expand what they do and expand partnerships within the healthcare setting.
By far.
What did you do in art therapy?
It was able, it allowed me to put 23 years of PTSD and TBI stuff together in one place that it's never happened before. Sorry. No one was able to figure it out because the way conventional medicine works in the Navy, the Army, you see this guy, you go see this guy, you go see this guy. They never talk. This is where this is awesome. Because you come here, they talk every day. So this person talks, this person talks. They have notes. So they send me to art therapy, and I go in there and they give me a mask, and you sort of just zone out into the mask. You zone out into the drawing. And for me, it just released the block. So I was able to do it. And then when I looked at it after 2 days, I was like, holy crap, here's the picture, here's the key, here's the puzzle. And then from there, it just soared. I mean, from there, my treatment just went, out of sight, because they were like, Kurt, explain this. And for the first time in 23 years, I could actually talk about stuff openly to like anybody. I could talk to you about it right now if I wanted to, because it unlocked it. It's just amazing.
And this young man is speaking with his art therapist, and he was part of a program at the National and Trumpet Center for Excellence at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, which is really exploring a very holistic healing modality that includes art and music therapists alongside occupational neurological physicians to really holistically address the healing process for our service members. So knowing this, and this is a slide of just an example of the initial groups that came together for the early conversations. We were saying, knowing this, what could we actually do together? How can we collaborate? What actually needs to happen? So we embarked on, for the past couple of years, just really bringing together people in an initial series of dialogues. First, in October 2011, we held a national summit at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. And to be quite honest, this was an initial conversation. We weren't quite sure if military and veterans communities would want to come and have this conversation. So it was arts and healing for warriors. What we discovered after the end of that was, yes, people wanted to talk, and we were happy to talk about more how the civilian population can work with military and veterans communities. But we were told very specifically that we can't just focus on healing warriors, because the real healing process is a circle of family, of caregivers, of community, and that's really what we need to look at in terms of how the arts can play a role. And so from that early meeting, we did a roundtable convening, smaller, high-level leaders. We wanted to understand from as much as grassroots movements are really effective, we know that the military and veteran system can be very top-down. So what was the predisposition for high-level leaders in this realm? What could we learn from them? What did we need to demonstrate to them to open up this conversation? And then finally, in April 2013, we had our second national summit at Walter Reed, where we took all of the conversations of the previous two meetings and we put it out there to this other population that's now looking about the arts across the military continuum. And the result is, over these past several years, we've involved over 500 representatives from the military, veteran, government, nonprofit, private sector, and civilian communities, and we know from these conversations that we've only just scratched the surface. So the results, we recently published in November, and I'm so delighted that the ALA has provided you all a copy of our white paper, which is really a snapshot in time. It takes a look at 3 specific areas: research, practice, and policy. Gives some examples of what we know and what we're learning, but also puts forth some of the ideas and the recommendations that came from all of the people who have been involved in these various convenings. And what was really important to us as we sought to understand this issue is to learn about, what are really some of the obstacles. And some of them are just very, very basic. A general lack of awareness about what's out there, what exists, and what the possibilities are. And not only just what's out there, of the importance of the arts in general. So there's a real education role we need to play. Another obstacle, no coordinated strategy. If someone wanted to go, so, there are places where things are happening, but sometimes, even in some of the most extraordinary examples, in a military training facility, you will have an incredible extended music program in one part of the hospital, and then something else happening in the arts in another part of the hospital, but not any conversation in between. And this you can extend to all kinds of scenarios between civilian communities and other populations, and this is something that we can really work on. Limited and siloed funding. Sometimes funders are funding things, they don't know of one another. There's a lack of understanding among arts funders of the value and importance of funding programs for veterans. We're trying to address that. Sometimes there is a lack of understanding of the value of the arts for veteran funders. You all are the absolute exception, I want to say. So, the model of support through ALA for the Veterans Creative Arts Festival is one of the things that we looked at and kind of gave us some hope and excitement that we can extend that kind of knowledge throughout the funding community. And then finally, the need for training, and nothing so official as, because there are, wonderful certification programs for training creative arts therapists in music and in dance and in writing and in visual arts, but just training across, if we want people to be able to collaborate comfortably, what do you need to know if you are an artist and you're going into a veteran setting? We need to understand each other's language, each other's challenges, and bringing those professionals together is something that can really, in the future, yield some very positive results. I promise this is not going to be a very wonky lecture. This is just highlights from the white paper, but one of the things I just wanted to kind of point out is, and again, sort of what we've learned through these conversations, is that the research is happening and it's bubbling up, but like so many things in the arts, sometimes the funding limits the large-scale studies. It doesn't allow for continuity. And again, there are pockets of things happening across the country, but there's not an interconnection among these studies that could help us build the body of research. There's positive things happening. The Interagency Task Force on Arts and Human Development, which is across federal agencies, has brought on the Veterans Health Administration and Walter Reed as advisors in the process. But what we really need to do is to kind of push and encourage the research community to look more broadly and collaboratively across the whole artistic spectrum. And importantly, and this was a very resonant theme throughout all of our conversations, there really is not enough research benefiting families and understanding the interventions and the strategies that help families deal with deployment and other issues. And I think recently, the study that just came out reinforces that we need to do more for our families. Practice. Again, there's so many interesting examples of wonderful programs happening that we need to map and understand. But what our folks were telling us is that there are certain things that we really want to make sure are part of all the quality practices. The idea of person and family centered for life across this continuum. There is value in pre-deployment, deployment, post-deployment, reintegration, the healing process, and sometimes there is just a need to have the arts for the pure aspect of joy. And all of those things are valuable, and that's what we need to have in mind when we're creating a world of access for all. And finally, our policy area, and this was actually really the toughest in some ways, because when you're looking at an issue and such a level of complexity, part of the thing that a policy arena can do for you is it can either enable what you'd like to do, or it can completely be obstructive. So what are those things that we can identify that would actually make the environment more conducive for the military and veterans groups to incorporate the arts, or to at least have a conversation about the arts? And we are really scratching the surface of investigation. But we need to encourage a formal recognition of the value of the arts within the military and veteran healthcare systems. Strategically placed creative arts therapists, sometimes just the function of where someone is assigned doesn't allow for conversations that are part of full treatment plans. There are good examples and there are bad examples. Again, how can we really encourage the best? And adequately resourced, always a consideration. And to the point of adequately resourced, the white paper came out in November. And after Veterans Day, we held a congressional briefing to discuss with members of Congress and their staff, and we delivered the white paper to all of the members of Congress. What was wonderful and encouraging about this particular event was that over 80 staff members, staff people from military and veterans areas attended. Which was also amazing because that would have been a larger number, except the Senate had scheduled a meeting on an aspect of the veterans legislation up against the hearing. And the hearing was also supported by the Military Mental Health Caucus, not just the Congressional Arts Caucus. Very bipartisan, encouraging for us because, again, Congress is a very difficult animal, and sometimes, the arts are not necessarily the top thing on the priority, but the idea that the arts can really be of value within military and veterans health is something that we were encouraged to see the interest. And I know you all have been on the Hill and talking to people. I think this is actually kind of an interesting coincidence. We have held our National Arts Advocacy Day on Monday and Tuesday. And although that particular image is this wonderful Monet, blurry, impressionistic thing, I guarantee that the actual cover of our handbook is crystal clear. And I just wanted to, mention that one of, among all of the statements that we collaborate with our partners in national service, arts service organizations and other partners to develop and present to Congress, which it is very interesting to try to get arts people to agree on consensus statements. But one of the consensus statements that we've agreed on and that we brought to Congress was taking those aspects of ensuring adequate funding for the arts within veteran demonstration projects, within TRICARE, within other aspects of the Department of Defense budget was something that our group of arts advocates, which number around 800 every year, went to their local congressional offices yesterday and talked about. And we're really very excited about that. So I just wanted to say that somewhere out there is a civilian army of arts groups that are behind this part of veterans' issues. So what are the opportunities? We are actually really excited about the receptivity of the conversation in places that we really didn't expect. You know, the door is opening, we feel, for stronger, more military and civilian partnerships. But we know that there's challenges. It's not the arts kind of have a way of partnering, and that's the way we do. It's not necessarily the same across the board. So we have to figure out how we support those conversations. From what we have heard back from military and veterans themselves is that some of the ways that we need to be cognizant that the arts can impact and help are really in the areas of troop and family readiness, of resilience, of retention, and really the successful reintegration into community life. And there definitely is a health and therapeutic aspect of it, but what we also discovered, much to my joy, is I've discovered and I've been learning about a whole group of veterans who have come back and they returned, but they have come back and have had arts backgrounds, and they've been trained artists, and they enlisted for their sense of country and service. But their transition into the workforce is into the creative industries, to go back to being artists. So as an arts community, we are working on how to welcome them back into the industry and to, again, work on workplace development issues, in addition to all of the other things that we've described that the arts can do. So next steps. We are building the movement on the cusp. We know that it has to be top down, bottom up, and all of those pieces work together. So we are in the process of building out a National Leadership Advisory Council that can help guide us to the right strategic policy areas to continue to open up this environment. And then we also really need to address this idea of isolation of people who have programs, who have resources locally, at the state level, at the national level. How do we connect them? And building that national network is something that we're really interested in doing so people can find each other. And we know this is only the beginning. And again, I'm so grateful to be here with you all to share this information and to also thank you for your history and everything that you have done, because it is really important, and only can we advance by working together in collaboration. And the results speak for themselves. And I'm going to leave you with something that was a performance as part of our last National Arts Advocacy Day. Yo-Yo Ma was our Nancy Hanks speaker for the lecture, and he had been doing a residency at Walter Reed. And I think it probably is the best example of why we are all so committed and passionate to seeing this initiative move forward.
And now, I'd like to share with you a live performance, an example of a present-day artist responding to need. I met Arthur Bloom through my good friend, the cultural impresario, Damien Wetzel, who, by the way, also introduced me to Lil Buck. Arthur Bloom has developed an amazing program called MusiCorps, working with injured service members at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. We're going to perform Levon Helm's Wide River to Cross. Please welcome now the wonderful veteran musicians of MusiCorps and Arthur Bloom.
There's a sorrow in the wind blowing down the road I've been. I can hear it cry while shadows steal the sun. But I cannot look back now. I've come too far to turn around, 'cause there's still a race ahead that I must run. I'm only halfway home. I've got to journey on to where I'll find the things that I have lost. I've come a long, long road. Still got some miles to go. I've got a wide river to cross. I have stumbled, I have strayed. You can trace the tracks I made all across the memories that my heart recalls. But I'm still a refugee. Won't you say a prayer for me? 'Cause sometimes even the strongest soldier falls. I'm only half.
Okay. Actually, it's a little technical difficulty. It does go on for a little while, but maybe my time is running out, so that could be a secret warning, and it is. So let me just say thank you very much. We look forward to working with you and talking with you further, and congratulations on all you do. And we know that you are doing so much on behalf of veterans in your communities and the arts. So thank you.
I was really good. Here, stay here. Stay here. Marete, thank you for introducing us to the initiative and plan for action. Here, just a second. If anyone would like to ask a question, if you would please go to the microphones at the side. And while you're doing that, I'd like to ask, what are the next action steps the initiative will be taking?
Cool. Sure. As I mentioned, we are in the process of looking to assemble a leadership advisory council, because we understand that there is a need to look across this military continuum of active duty veterans, the support communities and help guide us in the initiative. We are also working, hopefully by the end of the year, to do a 2014 National Summit. It won't be at Walter Reed this year. They've gone through a change of command, so that's a little more difficult. So as soon as we find a good partner and a location, and we're also hoping to be able to open that more broadly. Doing it on site of military treatment facilities kind of limits you in terms of numbers, and as the interest grows, we want to accommodate that. So those are two short steps: building out our website, identifying programs, reaching out and having conversations with groups such as yours. It's all good.
I believe we have a question over here.
Hello, nice to see you. Two questions. One is help define art, because I think a lot of people might think of museum stuff or formal concerts. Mm-hmm. We have a ton of talented people in our organization that are fine artists, but we also have needle workers and photographers and all of those other disciplines. So can you kind of elaborate what we all mean, or what you all mean by arts? And the other is, what role do community members play in this continuum? Because most of us aren't licensed art therapists, but have something to contribute. And if you could create some awareness for our folks about where we fit in this picture, that'd be great.
That's great questions. Thank you so much. We define arts very broadly. And not just with the initiative, but Americans for the Arts, the organization that I work with, that's helping to coordinate the effort. We are part of a membership organization for the 3,000 local arts agencies and community arts development groups across the country. And we are really interested in fostering and encouraging the environment for the arts writ large. So the typical things you may think about: visual arts, music, dance, theater, writing. Within all of those categories, you have multimedia, film, computer graphics, or you have, in the visual arts, you have crafts, ceramics, needlework, folk arts. There's so many rich artistic expressions that we want to look at this broadly. Even in the world of dance, you have all kinds of, and sometimes dance, I've sort of heard, people will call it movement, rather, because dance might be a little, and music, again, hip-hop expression, especially with young people, jazz. We are not limiting. What we are really involved is creative expression. And this notion of and thank you for bringing up the continuum notion. As we discovered we needed to develop the military continuum, we're also cognizant of the fact that there is an artistic continuum. And there is a role for creative arts therapists that are part of a health treatment, but not every person will need an arts therapist. There are different points of entry. So we look at our artistic continuum from the creative arts therapist to artists in residence, not only in healthcare settings, but artists who work in community settings, who teach, who do education and expressive activities with veterans and families and the community, all the way to the cultural institutions that host events and people participate in. So it is a very broad continuum. It is definitely not limiting, and the arts can happen in multiple places and spaces and with different people for different intents and purposes. As I said, not everything is a therapeutic, it has to be a therapeutic event. There is room for joy, and that's the continuum that we're looking at.
Do we have other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
That's great. Thank you.
It's good meeting you. So now I'm going to turn the remainder of the program over to Sharon.
Good morning. I can't tell you how pleased that our American Legion Auxiliary is the lead organization among veteran service organizations in the veterans creative arts sector. We can and should be really, really proud of that. I want to call your attention to the VA&R National Plan of Action and the fact that it now includes a robust set of suggested activities around the veterans creative arts. I'm pleased to share with you that ALA headquarters, with the support from an ALA Call to Service Corps AmeriCorps VISTA member, is developing a Veterans Creative Activities Action Guide to support our units and members wanting to be more active in the creative arts sector. Our publication will be released sometime this summer. We are now going to experience a hands-on activity similar to those offered to veterans in their healing process. We're also going to learn some tips to develop similar programs in our own communities. To lead us through the rest of the morning are Lisa and David Peacock. Lisa Peacock is a registered drama therapist who works with veterans who are homeless and women veterans. She was a resident playwright at Chicago Dramatists for a decade before turning her energies to using drama as a way to empower people by exploring their life story using the tools of a dramatist. Lisa is the founder and director of the Vet Art Project and Women Warriors Project, which creates opportunities for veterans and family members to work with the creative media to foster storytelling about the war and service to attain a greater level of personal understanding, awareness, and peace. Lisa has mentored the development of our vet art projects across the country. David Peacock has worked with people who are homeless in the UK, Brazil, and US for more than 20 years. He is the head of the therapeutic programming at Family and Community Service Veterans Programming. David has brought to the U.S. an innovative therapeutic community model to help veterans recover from homelessness that incorporates a number of creative art therapies and provides opportunities for personal empowerment and growth. He is a veteran of Her Majesty's Forces in the UK. Please welcome Lisa and David.
Good morning. My name is Lisa. He's David. So we understand you've been sitting for about a half hour, and drama therapy might sound very odd to you, but some of you might have heard of seeing a psychologist or seeing a psychotherapist. So it's basically that. Same concept, except we don't sit very often. We move. And in fact, that's what we're going to be doing this morning. So I think we want to begin our project very quickly. And I'm going to ask, because we're a rather large group, we're going to divide into two groups to begin. And if you are able, I'm going to ask you to take your chair to the back of the room, and we're going to form two circles. Two rather large circles. And if you're not able to take your chair, then just wait, and either David or myself will grab a chair so that we can begin. Okay? Was there anything that...
One circle there and one over there.
Yes. We're going to have one circle there and one circle over there. And I'm sure you've all noticed that there are tables and chalk pastels and everything around the room. We'll get to those later on. Thank you.